guys and welcome back to my channel. So I know this is a really strange angle and that's because I want to talk about this big rock here. So this is the intro, so I want to show you the before, and then once I get to the place where I'm going to be able to cut this, I will then film the rest of the video. So I'm going to be slicing this rock in half. So it's a really exciting project, and potentially I'm also going to be slicing some of these other ones as well. So these are fossils that are in a matrix that is way too hard for me to chisel or prep with my Dremel. It's just impossible to distinguish between the fossil and the rock. So to prep these nicely without damaging the fossil is one heck of a task and nearly impossible. So I thought I'll cut these, but it's actually not that simple finding somewhere that can cut a rock of this size. So this one here, I will bring you guys closer so you can have a look. I did put this in my previous video if you guys watched that, but it's a massive piece of limestone, and it has got some ammonites in the front of it, but it has a massive cross section of an ammonite down the side. So my plan is to cut it down the cross section and then polish it, and I will have like hopefully a really nice like partial ammonite with all the chambers showing. I've never done it before, so I don't know if it's going to work, but I thought it would be a fun thing to film for you guys and we can just see how this project pans out. But I also want to try and save the ammonites on the front, so when it gets slabbed, if I can keep all the pieces and they don't shatter, I will try and also do something with those. So it's quite a cool project, but I'll bring you guys over now so you can take a proper look. This is what it looks like, and if you look here, we can see the edge of the ammonite starts about here, and then it continues all the way down the rock to about here. So we can see all the whorls of this massive ammonite, some of which are completely calcified, so we can see all these beautiful crystals inside. So when we cut it, we might find that lots of the chambers are crystallized. It might only be a few, but polished up they can look really beautiful. You can kind of see how the sea has polished it on the edge here, and it kind of looks really nice in contrast with the rest of the rock. So I'm hoping it's going to work, but there's no alternative really. It's in such a hard limestone. If I don't cut it, there's not really much else I can do with it, and it is massive. So if the cross section's like this, I'm hoping the ammonite is going to be kind of like this big inside the rock here, and hopefully it's all there. So it's quite an exciting project to see how it turns out, but you can see here we've got a sea-worn ammonite on the front, and there's also another one down the base there. So if I can save those, I will. And then if I flop it over like that, there's another ammonite in another layer at the bottom here. You can see another cross section. So there's quite a few possibilities with this. Even if it doesn't quite cut perfectly, we should get something from it. And then I'll just spend a long time trying to polish it up using different grades of sandpaper, or potentially a polishing plate if I can get hold of one. So yeah, this is the before, and I'm now going to take you guys with me and we can cut it into pieces. Also, apologies for the jean and croc combo. I didn't quite think my feet would be in this video before I filmed it, but you know, too late now. And also, before we slab it, I'll just show you some of the other ones as well. So this is in the same kind of limestone, and again, it just has quite a few cross sections of ammonites in it. So we can see a pyritized one here. It's kind of like this big, and then there's loads of little ones, some larger ones. So I might see if something can be done with this one as well, or I'll just keep it as a kind of doorstop pebble type thing. And then this one again, this is a really hard rock, and it's loaded with fossils at the base here, but it does have something larger in it. So you can see the chambers at the top here. So I might see if they can cut this one as well, but we just have to wait and see. But this is the main project, so let's see what happens. So this is patient 0 getting ready to be set up on the huge saw here at BGS. So you can see that this is not a small piece of kit needed to actually cut through this rock. So you have to get it stable. So they use a lot of different weights to try and get it as steady as possible, because once the blade starts cutting, obviously it does hold the rock somewhat itself, but if it's moving, it's not going to get me a nice straight cut. So the more, you know, sturdy we can make it on the saw here, the safer it will be. So it's quite a task trying to balance it, because you want to get it to cut down a specific line, and so you have to keep moving very heavy weights to get it perfectly lined up. So this is the saw cutting it the first cut of many, should I say. But you can see it's done with water, and it's amazing how easy it looks. Like, this is a really hard rock, and this saw is just cutting it like butter. So you can see it's manually controlled, and it just goes through nice and slowly. This is sped up, by the way, so that happened a lot quicker than it did in real time. But you can see this is the first set of halves. So it cut through this lovely little ammonite at the bottom, and then we have got the larger whorl at the top exposed. But you can still see the cross section of the inner whorls didn't get sliced, and that's because we couldn't get the saw to cut at the correct angle because of the shape of the block. So to get a perfect cut, we should have potentially cut the rock into a different shape first and then sliced it, but we're going to slice it again in a minute. But you can see how gorgeous it looks like when you put water on the surface. So this is what it will look like polished. And you can see all the burrows over the surface, and there's so much more going on in these limestones. It's really interesting, and there was a tiny ammonite that it cut. So this is the process of us slabbing it another time. So we slabbed it a few times, and I'll show you them all at the end, but it was quite the task, and we managed to slab quite small portions of this rock. They're not all incredibly thick. Like, this blade could cut slithers off this boulder. It was amazing to see. And then this just makes me laugh. This is my tiny pebble going away to be sliced on its own trolley. And I think that's just safety protocols, but I just loved it. It's so sweet. And then this is it getting cut in half. So this is the one I showed you at the start, which was kind of covered in lots of different fossils. So I'm just cutting it completely down the middle. I say me. My friend at BGS is doing the hard work for me. But you can see inside the nodule here. So it kind of cut a few cross sections. And so I think we're going to slab it again before. So this kind of pebble is just going to get, quite a few nice pieces of rock out of it. And you can see there that was a cross section of an ammonite, and then this is an ammonite that I'm slicing in half. So here you can see the two halves, but I'll show them properly in a moment. So you can see all the chambers. It cut perfectly in half, nothing broke off. So amazing work from my friend Andy there. And then here we have the finished result. So I cut quite a few fragments of ammonites. So I kind of gave them as gifts to some of the guys doing the sawing, because I think they were well deserved. They were working very hard. But you can see how beautiful these ammonites look when they're wet, which is how I believe they'll look when I actually get around to polishing them. But there's lots of crystals in the chambers. It's really, really lovely. So I was so happy with how they turned out, especially for a first attempt. I don't think it could have gone better. And I think that's down to, the people I had doing it for me. They definitely know what they're doing, a lot more than I would, that's for sure. So you can see they're cleaning up really nicely, just getting all the remnants of sediment out of the chambers. And the crystals are so beautiful. I am so chuffed with them. So I think this is the last one that I'm just rinsing. And again, look at that. They're just gorgeous. So I'm back now, having had all my rocks sliced, and I've got to say they've turned out much better than I anticipated, because I've never sliced rocks before, and so I was a little bit unsure about angles and how to cut them, because obviously the blade does take up a little bit of the rock as well. So it was a new experience for me, but I'm very happy with how it turned out, and a massive thank you to the guys who helped me make it happen and gave me all the advice that I needed. So I'm going to show you it all in a minute properly. But the big rock needed a little bit of more work than we originally thought. So the fossil was in it at an angle rather than straight, but the saw, we couldn't get it to go in at an angle safely. So unfortunately we couldn't cut perfectly through it, but we could get some pretty cool slabs. So I've got about 5 cuts down this one piece of rock. Wait, there's just a plane going over my house. Give me a second. There we go. So I've got all of the pieces, and they've all got different really nice fossils on. So here's a cut through of a smaller ammonite, then you've got a massive whorl here, and then you've got another whorl here. And now I am going to polish these up, but I've got a glass of water here, so I'm just going to show you what these kind of will look like a bit more polished. So you can see if I paint it on, how beautiful the calcite looks. Like, look at that, and it's a really nice piece. So along with all the ammonites in this piece, you can also see like burrows and cut throughs of belemnites. It's got so much going on that I think once I polish it up, it's going to be a really nice piece to kind of study and have a look at what's in the rock. So you can see here, it's almost acting like a mirror. You can see here that it's got all these other things going on the rock surface. So let me just paint it all over. It's also getting dirty. I think I need to wash this as well. That's just from the saw, but you get the idea. So these are just really, it's a really nice piece of rock basically. I love this one down here as well. So I think if I can polish these up right, they're going to look so amazing. So I think I'm going to need to learn about how to polish them, especially one of that size. It's going to be quite a lot of effort, but luckily the saw has left a really nice kind of saw mark. So if I can't polish them officially with like different grades of sandpaper, I think I might just coat a small amount of varnish on them or something like that, just to bring out the rock surface, because it's really interesting like to study that rock. It's a really cool piece. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to lay out all my fossils, because I also got some ammonite sliced. Let me see if I can grab some. So I don't know if I've grabbed the good ones. I grabbed the good one. That's just, you know, perfect timing. So this is the one I got cut. So this is the outside of it. Looks like this. And then if we turn it around, look at that. We've got all the chambers in this one. And those black marks are just from the heat of the saw, I believe. So I should be able to scrub or polish those ones out. But if I'm not going to drink this water after. I think that's probably a good idea. If I paint this one with some water, look at how amazing that is. All the different chambers. It's just beautiful. Look at that. So this one I am going to polish properly. So I'm going to get like the wet and dry trick. So the different grades of sandpaper and do it like that. And I will film a video on how to do that when I get round to it. But in the meantime, I'm going to lay out all the rocks I got cut, because I did get quite a lot chopped. So we can take a look at that. So these are all the slabs that I got done, minus one big chunk which is still in there, but I thought these ones kind of showcase enough. So you can see that they all have parts of the ammonite on. So we've got a lovely bit of the calcite here in one of these whorls, and you can see like the ribbing, so you've got like this zigzagging here on the outer whorl. So they're really lovely pieces, and I think, you know, there might not be one piece with the whole ammonite in, but I kind of love having these pieces. It's just, you know, it's my first attempt at slicing, and I think they've turned out really nice actually. Then these were the two I showed you, or I showed you this one, and that's the other half. And then I also have these little chunks here of kind of like fragments of ammonites, but I still thought sliced up, because they've got some crystals in them, they might look lovely polished. So what I'll do for you now is I'll just paint some water on some of them, just so you can see exactly what's going on, because I mean this is what they'll look like when I eventually finish them. It's just stunning. Look at that. So you can see all the detail in the surface, because there's so much going on. So it's not just ammonite, and again on this one I've got to try and get that saw mark out, which I think I can do just with a bit of water and scrubbing. So that's that one. Then we've got this lovely one here as well. So polished up, these are going to be beautiful. I haven't decided how I'm going to display them or what I'm going to do with them, but the surface just has so much going on. Like, look at all the burrows and everything. It's just lovely. It's really interesting to see it like this, I think anyway. And so we've seen this little guy down here. And then these are smaller ones. Again, I think when they get a little bit of polishing, they're going to just turn out beautiful. They might not be complete, but the whorls have so much detail in the chambers. I think they're just stunning in their own right. So yeah, that's what I've been up to recently. So I really hope you guys enjoyed this kind of little adventure with seeing the saw cutting process. But there's still a lot of work to be done on these, but yeah, it's fun nonetheless. There's still a lot of work to be done on these, but at least that's the hardest step done. They are sliced. So now I just need to learn a fair bit about polishing and we can go from there. So that's all I got for you guys today. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed today's video. Like and subscribe for more if you did, and I'll be back with more next week. So yeah, thank you so much for watching, and hopefully I'll see you next time. This is me just trying to paint this fossil faster than it can dry so that I can get the thumbnail looking all nice and shiny. So I thought it was just quite amusing. Because as soon as I finish one, the other half dries. So we've got to be quick. Okay. Try not to drop these.